contested for president, if you became president, what would that be some of your first policies to help your small businesses?
You know what? I hate to think about that. I tried to be president. That what because in trying to be that president,
it's in your CV forever.
in trying to be that president, I put everything out there. You know, of course, it's not usually very much appreciated. But what can one do? Okay. So what I had, you know, without boasting, one of the most articulate platforms, and in fact, I still have a few of the flyers and the things that I try to do, you know, for every sector and co. What would I have done for entrepreneurs, right?
Yes.
First of all, you know, I think I would have, because of the hard times that we're living now, I would have actually locked down government to purchase local, you know, to encourage our local entrepreneurs.
The innocence.
Yeah, not only that, you know, down the line.
Without the
yeah. I may actually, because of my ideology, one of the things I wanted to do very strongly was to, you know, begin to create that entrepreneurship spirit from the universities and the polytechnics in a different way by encouraging them on some hands-on project work while they're still in university. So, for example, I believe that, you know, we shouldn't go to any university or polytechnic in Nigeria and see bad roads when you have a civil engineering department. What are they doing? What's their work? I believe that the electricity problems of this country will be solved by, you know, by sending some of those students of electrical electronics, electrical engineering to the nearest village to go and power them up, so they can have something on their CV when they're leaving university, and then so that they can also begin to develop entrepreneurship ideas and that is innovative. I believe that we could have, you know, kind of sparked an innovative conflagration amongst the young people of Nigeria that will never stop burning by actually immersing them in those kind of things. I believe that not even only the guys that study STEM, you know, science and technology and co, but even people who study even the arts, they have a role to play. It's about reimagining your engagement with your world, with your society. So if you study the history, I believe that there are many. I mean, for example, who last wrote the history of Abuja? Can you walk into any bookshop today and buy a book called The History of Abuja? You know, if you went to London, for example, you see the history of Shoreditch, which is just one place in London, you know, but the books are there. So who has seen the history of Uye and the history of Garki, how it started, the prominent people, whoever is there, the king of Garki and whatever? Nobody. So there's so much work, and when you do that, you have to then document it, and not only document, you have to digitize all that information, that we can create a Google of Nigerian information, and that is when the world begin to take this country serious. So that I wouldn't want entrepreneurship to be something that people desperately do just to survive. And like we agreed, because there's a little innovation in the kind of entrepreneurship we do now, I would probably say we're not doing entrepreneurship really. Okay, entrepreneurship has to be rethought in this country, to be innovative, to solve problems, to lead to I mean, listen, I would rather before you can convince me that you're an entrepreneur who all you do is import maybe clothes or import, you know, stuff from abroad and just sell and do with a markup. You know, you have to be doing something different and something new and something really innovative, rather than just being a salesman or being a middleman, you know, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I don't believe that the only problem that entrepreneurs have is finance. Of course, there's a bit of finance out in the space right now. You know, quite a bit of finance out in the space. You know, it's not enough. It will probably never be enough. But a lot of companies also fail. More than 50% of the companies fail within the first 6 months of their big setup. Meaning that there has to be one or two other things that people are not thinking about. What's the capacity of the entrepreneur? You know, what's the innate capacity of the entrepreneur to go the long haul, as against just, okay, you want finance, okay, right, take 10 million, And then when you get the 10 million, remember that, look, I need a small car. It used 2 million to buy the car. I need to get married. Then you take 1.5 million to get married.
Right.
How much is left? Already the business is in trouble. And so you'll see yourself running out of that skill.
2 more questions. Firstly, what is China doing for small businesses that Nigeria is not doing? Because even small businesses in Nigeria run to China these days. What are they doing that we're not doing?
You know what? When they say small business in China, it's not like here. Oh my God! So those people, they're crazy. You know that their perspective to business is different. The small business in China is the one maybe you're turning over $1 million is nothing to those kind of business in a year. When you want to know, and there's so much prosperity in China, if you see them abroad now,
what are they doing?
yes, you see them abroad now, the way they spend, you know that even the person manufacturing pin, is manufacturing maybe 10 million pins. So what they did is this: you have to go back into history a bit, down to, let's talk about of course, where the Chinese people are coming from, noting the fact that the West actually stole technology from them. Then they went back and stole from the West. When I started going to London in the late 90s, early 2000s, you see a lot of Chinese selling pirated DVDs and so on, CDs. But now when you go, you don't see them anymore. So they stole back. And then around that time, the rhetoric in the West was always about, intellectual property and how the Chinese do not respect intellectual property. Of course, they don't respect intellectual property. So for good or ill, I don't know whether, of course, it can't be right for people to steal anything, intellectual property or anything else. So, but what Mao Zedong was able to do for them in the Cultural Revolution was it kind of trained them in a minimum way that it was easy for China to win the globalization war by positioning itself as the factory of the world. By the time the companies were coming from the West, from America and Europe to set up in China because labor was cheap, they weren't even thinking, they were just going for, this capitalism says that you should maximize your profits. Labor cost is a major input in the cost of production. Where can we get it cheaper? And then you could set up and get labor 10 times cheaper in China than it was, in fact 20 times cheaper in the beginning. So for one person you're paying $1,000 per month, you have to pay them $20,000 per month in the US. And this guy was perfectly happy collecting $1,000 per month. And before you knew it, they also inserted a few clauses and actually made sure that companies setting up in China were able to must actually give part of the technology and train their people. And so they were able to replicate some of the technology. That's why today you see car manufacturing companies like Geely and Co. Check out that Geely in 2 years' time and see the kind of products that they will come out with. Already even a Lizard Day of Nigeria is beginning to stock some Geely, and I remember the other time they presented Baba Lizard Day with Chief Michael Adeojo with one Geely Jeep, and they said he was so excited about the car. There goes the Chinese, just like the Koreans. In time before, nobody would drive a Hyundai. But now a Hyundai is one of the best cars you can drive in the world. So there's a need to give your people a minimum training. So in Nigeria, what we have is we see a lot of people, we have the numbers, but most of them are not well trained. The training I mean is the kind of ability to even concentrate, to learn how to do things with precision, some level of precision. And that sometimes takes knowing sometimes if you like, it takes a bit of knowing your estate in life. What we have developed is a scenario where most Nigerians, young Nigerians, everybody wants to be a millionaire. So you don't start out by trying to be a millionaire. If you are chasing a million and they are envied and Gote and all of these people without even knowing, then you've got a problem, because the things you need to learn now, you will not learn them, and then you're already projecting into the future. So so there's that wiring that we need to wire our people. Yes, the kind of wiring we need to tell the guys, calm down. Nigerians need to calm down. We need to calm down. Government needs to. It's because the government, we didn't calm down. That's why our government spends money on all the frivolities in this world, and then we get the result back, and everybody we are quarreling with ourselves and protests on the streets and so on, because the government itself did not calm down. Right. But the government are also from among Nigerians. So Nigeria, we need to all calm down. Calm down. The government needs to use the money they get it for the people, not to make themselves comfortable. And use that money to train them. We have 15 million children on the streets with no education on them. That is an emergency that needs to be declared since yesterday. So that if another wave of globalization comes, and it will always be there, let people, how many companies are willing to set up in Nigeria because they find out that Nigerians are trainable, Nigerians are amiable, Nigerians are not problematic people. The China stood to conquer, and the Chinese they conquered.
That's what China did.
Exactly, they stood to conquer. I remember a couple of years back they were interviewing the ambassador of China, and some person said, "No, now your country as a superpower, you guys are rich," and the man said, "No, we're not even a superpower. We're a very poor country. In Nigeria will not tell you it's a poor country. He will tell you, oh yes, in fact, we are the most blessed country where we're too. In fact, where God has given us, we have the best brains around the world." Look, humility. Well, my first book, I mentioned it, Crushed, is the title of the book. These are the acronym for things I believe we're able to do. So C stands for we fight anti-corruption, we fight corruption rather. Look at the Chinese strategy, it's part of it. Then you have to have courage, because they say without courage all other virtues lose their meaning. R is for being reasonable and realistic. Okay, we have to be realistic and reasonable, and know exactly where you're going. U is for unity. S is for strategy. Okay, H is for history. You have to understand that history where we're coming from. H is for hard work. Okay, H is for humility. So I believe that all this stuff about bragging, that we don't need it really, because we mark ourselves in the world. With this COVID thing that has happened, and those of us who do a bit of international business, we've seen a bit of, if you like, quote unquote, some sort of discrimination in a systemic manner. I wanted to rent a room for a job I wanted to rent like a meeting room for a job in Dubai a couple of days back, and every mail I sent to that email was blocked. And I had to call them today, say, well, I've been sending emails. I said they didn't see it. They have to now start checking, and I know what may have happened. Because that's the same place where they arrested the posh daddy, what's it called? Posh puppy. And so they may have just said anything coming from an IP address of Nigeria. Look at what we've done to ourselves. We don't even know. There are people who are leading, they don't know what this is. When they have money, they take government money, they go there, they spend anyhow. They don't know that we're stigmatizing ourselves. So, and then we go around and we're bragging about how we have the most intelligent people and all. What has it translated into? Humility is very important. So H is for humility, for hard work, and for history. E is for education. And I thought about rethinking the education that we have to ensure that it is education that will actually work for us. And D is for democracy, in the same fashion that we just buying democracy off the shelf may not work for us and all that. But how do we ensure that we are able to tinker with our own in a way that delivers the goods for the rest of the people?
All right. I was going to ask you about a contemporary of yours who has just been made deputy treasury bishop, but we're out of time. While you're there, I don't know how that
well, it's good for us, but is he a Nigerian? I think he's an American. But it's good that at least we try to identify with what's good.
They call them American Nigerians and Nigerian Americans.
Oh yeah.
So there's some level of.
So it's good. I mean, I don't know much about him. I don't know his pedigree, but of course, what that tells me more is about America as a country. That country was built on intellectual capital. They made sure that they attract the best from everywhere in the world. They understand the power of diversity, that the best ideas may come from the unlikeliest of places, and that they give everybody an opportunity to a large extent. It's not a perfect society. There's discrimination still, and as what they say, the Americans will say, that they are working towards building a more perfect union. Now, what does that tell you? Perfect is perfect, right? So what's the meaning of more perfect? It sounds a bit like a grammatical error, but what it says is that as a country, you must understand that, you must take a position that you have as good as it gets. You can only keep working on it on a day-to-day basis. And it's part of what I tell Nigerians, especially the youths as well, especially those who disparage Nigeria, who talk all sorts of things about Nigeria. It's a useless country, it's a country of drug killers. Look, if only they know history, get back to history, that America that we're praising today, where they're coming from. Do you know that the state of Oregon, I was reading recently, the state of Oregon was formed as a white enclave, and no black was allowed to come into the state of Oregon. Throughout the 1800s, that was the case. In fact, it was written into the Constitution of Oregon that this is not a place for blacks. That thing was taken out of the Constitution only in the year 2001. That is America. That is America for you. Okay, so there'll always be problems, but it's what you make of it. I still believe that this country has, if not for anything, many opportunities for people to make a difference. Whether it is through entrepreneurship or through service or through social entrepreneurship, whatever the case may be, that there's so many opportunities, so many openings for people who are ready to make a difference in this country. This is a country where we need to build things that haven't been built. This is a country, I'd say, even in terms of doing business, that the best place for anybody to do business actually is in your own country. So the best place for any Nigerian to do business in the world, forget what the World Bank is of the business spread, whatever metrics is saying, the best place for Nigeria to do business is Nigeria. This is where you're going to see people people who you know, who can understand you. I did business for about 8 years in the UK. I know what it takes for you to get business, a walking customer from the street for a corporate business, and then you're there, you are from Nigeria or whatever. No. As a matter of fact, all these things we talk about still exist in many of those places. Call it nepotism, whatever. If you didn't go to Eton College, or you didn't go to Eton College, or go to Oxford, you didn't go to Harrow, you didn't go to St. Andrews University, or so, and you didn't make friends at that level, it's going to be tough. There's a glass ceiling, and there's a point at which you get there, you're trying to break that ceiling, and it's so difficult to break. That's to imagine the other side. So this is the more reason why we must build our country. This is we look for whatever reason. You can't question. You don't choose your parentage. You don't choose anything at that level. You find yourself, you were born in Nigeria, you grew up in Nigeria. You probably should try to make something in Nigeria. And the best things in life are for free. So if you want to be happy, learn to make other people happy. If you want that eternal satisfaction, immerse yourself in service. You don't set your goals as monetarily. I think the money will come in a sustainable way. So set it to about money, like what you're doing now. A lot of what you're doing with your platform is not monetary. If it was just monetary and you can't see the money flowing immediately, you get frustrated. But if you say, listen, this is what I believe, that I want to add value to entrepreneurs in my country and encourage young people, and this is what I'm going to do. Before you know it, you keep on getting that satisfaction and the money will come.
Finally, how do you handle disappointments? How do you handle those days where you try to knock the door several times, letters, and then at the end of the day you say no?
First of all, to remember the times when the doors have been shut in your face. I remember walking into one guy's office, and the guy told me, I walked in with a colleague of mine, Obi, he's in London now, anyhow, but I walked into, and the man shouted, my friend, get out of my office! Who told you to open my door? So embarrassed that day, but subsequently I remember traveling down from London one day, and I was in the plane, and this man already had retired from service. I didn't even recognize him. He came to my seat, started telling me about how he wanted to be executive secretary in that organization, how they did politics, and I was like, this same man is talking to me. So you have to remember the time that, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. Luckily, I went to that Tony school of hard knocks. When as managers in Standard Trust, we were told we learned the art of cold calling, right? You have to be able to look at the place and just knock the door and say, "This is what I'm about." You have to be that Jehovah's Witness kind of person.
Right.
Many times they shut the doors in the face of Jehovah's Witness, they keep coming. So that's it. You have to remember that, look, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. So that's one thing you can do. And then you also have to have your goal in view. Okay, this is what you want to achieve. You have to have the passion to keep waking up and trying. You have to remember stories of people like Thomas Edison, who tried how many times to make a light bulb before it clicked. Okay, you have to know that it's a game of numbers at the end of the day. You have to know that, yes, it may be 20% perspiration and maybe 80% perspiration and 20% luck. Life, okay, but that luck element is always there. Right. You have to understand that, sometimes it's those places where you never thought things were going to be possible that come true for you. So if you're disappointed in one place and they shut the door in your face, the next person may just do it right. I'll tell you what, that this happened earlier on in my business life. So there's these two organizations, big organizations that I was working with in Abuja here, and I kept trying in one and it wasn't quite, and I had so much hope. I remember I was chasing small businesses then with this other organization, and one day I got there and one man, again from the north, told me, he said, Mr. Tope, are you the one they gave this approval to go and do so business? In my head, I was like, what's this man saying? I was talking to one other man who happens to be from the east, and he was supposed to give me maybe like ₦1 million business in 2007 or so, yes. And what's Hamza talking about here? Only for after I'd spoken to this man, later on, I now found out that indeed they had used my company name or my idea. They just kind of cancelled my company name and put their friend's company on the internet.
Wow.
And they did this business of 46 million with it, where I wasn't chasing 1 million. In fact, they doubled it to 92 million, to 92 million. And I said, wow, so it's possible to even do a 92 million business in this industry, as at that time, was part of the reason. So I was very disappointed. Felt bad for several times. But the next thing that happened was there's another organization I was talking to, and there's this man who I'd never met before. In fact, the day that I tried to see the DG of the organization, I was sitting with the technical assistant or SA of the DG, and this man both of us were sitting in like visitors, right? And the SA was on this other side. I didn't know that he was a staff of that place. I didn't know that he was the one that handled the kind of things I wanted. And we left that place. Somehow he contacted me and he said, look, bring so proposal. He's an Igala man, and I brought the proposal. I didn't believe it, I was trying to price it. I didn't even know what they were talking about. I think I priced it in dollars and so on. And then I was in Lagos one day, hustling one of my hustles, trying to make a quick, small bulk and all of that. And the man called me and said, listen, he has sent that thing to the DG. He changed it to pounds because it should be in pounds. At that time, the pound was almost double the dollar. I couldn't believe it that I'm making pounds already, And so from one organization to another, that maybe one door away from each other, look at the two different outcomes. So again, what does it say? Back to the beginning of where we started.
Right.
Never judge anybody. Forget about tribe, forget about religion, judge people on the way they are, the content of their character. And that was what Martin Luther King said, And you too should ensure that the content of your own character is A+. And when you make promises, fulfill your promises. First of all, on the quality of what it is you are pushing, what it is you are selling. Continue to improve, because once in a while you may drop the ball. Know that yes, once in a while you may drop the ball. I've seen people who are so good, they become arrogant. And because they're arrogant, they drop the ball big time. So it's good to be nice to people. Again, you have to have people's skills, because no matter what it is you do in this world, people's skills, human beings are at the back of everything that you want. So just try, have that people's skills, don't be a robot. Manage people, be kind to them, be nice to them, understand with them, know how to put yourself in people's shoes, right? From their perspective, see through their eyes. And I think if you do that, things are going to be fairly good and easier for you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tope Fasua, for joining us on the show. We appreciate you and we hope you oblige next time.
Absolutely. No
Thank you
worries.
very much.
I'll try my best.
That's the show for this week. We'll see you another time. Bye.